Does competitive balance excite you? Does parity excite you? Does the ability to contend for more than just a couple of teams for a national championship, does that kind of stuff excite you? Because that's all I hear people complain about, or it's a lot of what I hear people complain about in college football. And I hear the quote all the time. You've probably heard this. Maybe you've said it. The same four teams make the playoff every year. Fascinating, considering the fact, by the way, that we've never had the same four teams make the playoff twice. We're 7 years in now. It's never happened. But still, your point is taken. I do understand what you mean. A majority of the time, it's the same few teams in the pool, and maybe occasionally a random Washington or a random Michigan State works themselves in. But by and large, we understand who's at the head table. College football is always going to have redwoods in the forest. They're always going to have those monsters that stand out well above the rest of the canopy of the sport. But that doesn't mean you can't trim the tops off the redwoods every now and then. And I think there are a lot of things coming together at the same time this year, a lot of factors that are going to trim the tops off of some of these redwoods in college football, and it's going to make things a lot more exciting. See, the expectation right now, the new normal, if you will, in this sport, is for 2 or 3 teams to buzzsaw their way through their conference, not even competitive, and they lock up a number 1 or number 2, number 3 seed, and they're all undefeated. And then we've got a couple of undefeated teams meeting in the title game, and which team's going to remain undefeated the whole way and rewrite the record books, because that's what we've seen lately. Bama just did it. LSU did it before them. Clemson's done it. I don't think that's happening this year. And if we do have one, I think they'll have several more fights on their hands. I think they'll know what their blood tastes like, a lot more than some of these teams in the past have come to know during the season. So let's talk about the reasons for a second. The first reason is very simple. Look across the country. Where are these slam dunk transcendent quarterbacks at? Where's my Trevor Lawrence? Where's my Justin Fields? Where's my Tua, my Mac Jones? Where are they at? You've got Spencer Rattler, and I will buy it if you try and sell me that. But elsewhere, you are not selling me JT Daniels as a transcendent talent. You are not selling me Bryce or DJ or CJ Stroud right now as a transcendent talent. And the reason is because I've never seen them win a game. They have all the potential in the world. I certainly believe in them. But we're talking about 2021, not 22 and 23. I'm not fearful of any of those guys laying waste to the rest of college football at the moment. And so that's one factor that I would argue is the most important factor, but I've got several more important factors here. I think defense is making a big return in this sport this year. Defense being back is going to greatly contribute to a lot more balance in college football. A majority of the contenders, a majority of the teams at the top of the sport have net upgraded defensively. Think about this. Is Alabama better or worse this year defensively? I think they're a lot better. Should Clemson be better or worse this year? Should Ohio State be better or worse this year? Should Oklahoma be better or worse this year? Everyone's upgraded. Every one of the big boys is upgrading defensively. What about North Carolina? Upgraded. Florida upgraded. A&M upgraded. All these big-time teams that you expect to be parked at the top, when we get to the finish line, they're all upgraded defensively. You're not raining 50 points a game on these teams. You're not raining 40 a game on these teams. These games are going to be a lot more competitive. These meaningful games are going to be a lot more competitive. That plus the lack of transcendent quarterback play is going to create a lot more level competition. Maybe not when you watch, for instance, a 30-point dog go into the horseshoe. No, I don't expect that to be competitive. But Wisconsin or Minnesota on the front end of Ohio State's schedule, maybe they do have a chance. Bama going to the swamp in week 3, maybe they do have a chance to get upset. Now, there's a third factor here. I'm not done. The returning experience levels in college football this year, off the charts. Never seen anything like it before. I don't think you'll ever see anything like this again. Bill Connolly over at ESPN released his S&P Plus rankings today, but he also, in the feature that they released over there, he included his average returning production ratings. I'm showing you the chart right now. Well, our friends in Fort Lauderdale are showing you the chart, which I appreciate, on YouTube right now. Here's what you're looking at. This is the average returning production percentage by conference. Now, these numbers don't mean anything to you without a baseline. Here's the baseline. Normal returning average production percentage is somewhere around 64%. That's an average for a team. The average for all these conferences is above that. Every conference has a well above average to an exceptionally well above average returning production ranking. That is going to disproportionately, positively impact defenses. I firmly believe that. Every coach believes that. Like every coach you talk to believes that as well. And there's a fifth factor. I don't know how deep we are now, but think about this. If you are any kind of relatively young team, almost half of your roster has not played a road game in a true road environment at this point. You got freshmen and sophomores, second-year guys at least, that have not played in a full house. And you're about to send them out on the road. And so any given Saturday, some team is going to be playing in an environment that they've never played in. And you're going to try and function your offense against more experienced teams. And you probably don't have as good a quarterback play as you normally do. There are a lot of things coming together. And lastly, this is an insanely deep defensive back year for college football. I was listening to some of the Senior Bowl guys the other day and reading what they had to say. They think this may be one of the deepest corner and safety classes, so defensive back classes, that they've had. So we've got increased levels of play at the DB positions. We've got home field disproportionately high value. We've got no real transcendent quarterbacks, maybe outside of Spencer Rattler in the preseason. We have got a lot of teams that have net upgraded defensively. And I look at all this, along with the returning production levels being off the charts, and I'm asking myself, do we really think it's just going to be 2 or 3 teams that pull away from the field again this year? And my answer is no. I do not think that's going to be the case. I think it's equally as likely we have a couple of one-loss teams in a national championship game as opposed to having a couple of undefeated teams in there this year. But my point is, a lot of these programs that you have started to define as immortal and unreachable, they'll have mortality about themselves. They're still better than you. Bama's still better than the rest of the SEC. How much better are they? There's a big difference between them being favored by an average of 17 every week and them being favored by an average of 11 every week. I'm not telling you that's going to be the case. I'm telling you with Ohio State, Bama, but across the board, Oklahoma can be beaten. All these teams can be beaten. Clemson can be beaten. All these teams can be beaten this year. So that's fascinating. The returning production level alone was, I think, a stat that was worth doing that segment for.